I think we're going to get started because it's 11 o'clock on the dot here. So Keisha, before getting started, for those of, in the Zoom room that might not know you, can you introduce yourself, tell everybody how long you've been licensed, what your business looks like, all the things?
All right, I'll do what I can. So, as stated before, my name is Keisha Wagner. I have been licensed for going on 15 years now. I've never been with another brokerage outside of KW. In fact, I've only been with KW, now known as KW Living, my entire career. Um, so when I first got started, like most agents, I was very buyer heavy. And when I got into the business at a time where it was hard for sellers to sell a home, very, very hard. It was after the market crash that some of you may have heard of or experienced at the time, 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12. And so it was tough to get homes sold. So I did run a lot of buyers at that time. I was able to get buyers qualified and purchase homes. And then probably around 2016, 2017, I started to switch my business to be more listing heavy. And I'll get into the reasons why I did that later. What I'd like to um, accomplish on this call today, I would like it to be more of an organic conversation about listings and what to say on appointments and just what I call the language of listings because it is definitely a unique way that you handle listings, a little bit different than you, of course, you would handle your buyers and vice versa. So, like I said, around by 2018, I got more heavy listing focused. You can tell me to stop whenever you want me to if you have other things to add, Danielle. But by
No, go.
2018,
This is what does Keisha do in listing conversations, and what does she do? So this is perfect. You go.
so um, So, and in the last few years, I'm to the point where now 80% of my business is listings. Okay. So, we don't, of course, run away buyers because, you want buyers because they turn into listings later. So I do have a buyer's agent. And of course, some of your listers will be buying a home. So you want to make sure you have your skills ready for that as well. But I'm very listing focused. So, I'm just going to share with you guys how I handle my listings, all the way up from maybe getting the call or to what actually is said on the appointments. And then if you guys want to interject and ask questions um, and tune in and chime in on, maybe some thoughts or things that, hey, this happened to me. How did you deal with that? If it ever happened to you, sort of thing, please interrupt me because I only have but so much to say. So, um, so like I said, a very candid conversation. So I mentioned earlier about speaking the language of listings. One of my previous brokers had used this term, the language of listings, and I didn't really understand the importance of it till I got more listing focused. So there's just a way that you handle your listings when you're trying to go after them, when you're trying to get that appointment. It's almost like a cadence in your voice. It's a confidence, not a cockiness, but a confidence in your voice that you know what you're doing, you have it under control, and you know that you'll be able to service them the best way possible. So I have down here that as far as speaking the language of listings, of course, be confident, um, genuinely have a vested interest in your client's needs. So really have an interest in what they're trying to accomplish and identify the type of clients you have. People are different. I'm sure all of you know now. I'm not sure how long some of you have been in the business, but you working with in the people business, you're going to run across a lot of different types of people. So kind of understanding, are they more analytical? Um, are they numbers people? Are they highly emotional? Are they touchy feely? And kind of connecting with those things. I think we have what's called a DISC profile, which a lot of you may be familiar with, and that kind of breaks down what type of person that you may be dealing with. And it gives you a better idea of how to handle them, not only for the listing appointment, but throughout the transaction. That's a whole nother class. So we'll leave that there. Um,
Keisha, I have a
so
question, not to interrupt you.
go ahead. Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have maybe in the pre-listing conversation that you're having, or maybe when you show up at familiar with the disc, like, do you have a few pointed questions that you always ask to figure out, like, are they analytical or are they that high I or that high D personality? Like, do you have any specific questions that you're always asking that you can share?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know if I can't say that's specific. I can kind of just say that it's a vibe. So, um, right when and that gets on to the next thing I was going to talk about, but right when I get the call, or maybe I'm making the call or it's a referral, I kind of just ask questions to gain their personality. I may ask them what they do for a living, or what they do to have fun, or just things to make it like a conversation. And that kind of would give me a gauge of what type of personality I'm dealing with. So I know how to handle them accordingly. I kind of just have to go with the flow of the conversation. Um, and that kind of gives me the understanding if I need to be, of course, you want to be professional, but if I need to be extra corporate and very, direct, and this is just a business, or is this type of person who not only wants to do business with me, but wants to actually form some type of relationship. So it just depends on that how it flows from there. But I'll ask them like maybe life questions, things like that. If the vibe kind of leads towards such. Okay. But that hopefully that helps. And so from this point, so when I get the call, my goal is always of course to schedule that appointment. That's like probably the first or second sentence that's out of my mouth. And then I kind of lead into, now that I've got their availability, then I lead into questions regarding their home, why are they moving, etc. What their motivation is, finding out what exactly their needs are, if they're buying and if they're selling and buying, if they're moving out of state, if is it a result of a life event, like a life event, for example, somebody may have passed away, divorced, getting married, having a baby, all of those things. That will kind of give me a better gauge of how to handle the conversation from there after we have scheduled, kind of got availability for an appointment. Um, another one of my brokers I had previously also said, no matter who the personality is, if this is your personality, speak with a smile in your voice. And so I smile while I'm on the phone with them the whole time. Again, it's just speaking with me, but I have a smile in my voice. That just helps me to keep my tone and my personality and who I am, that comes across in our initial conversation, so they can gauge that this is a good environment. This is a person who is going to get things done, but however, that probably genuinely cares and really likes what she does. So let me engage with her. So I try to make a good practice of doing that. So what I'll also do, even though I've scheduled an appointment, when we get to that, sometimes I'll let them know like, hey, I'm probably going to give you a follow-up call, 2 calls. You may get 1 call for me to ask more in-depth questions regarding your home. And on that call, that's when I go into um, uh, what the specifics of your home are, like what improvements have you made to your home, and what are your favorite things about your home. I try to get as much information regarding the home and what their needs are up front. And the reason why I sometimes do a second call with that, because the first call, I kind of want to keep it to the point and brief, and then it gives them a chance to digest me, I digest them, and then I do a second call, and if they're available, with a little bit more time, and kind of just do like a needs analysis, the same thing that you guys hopefully are doing for your buyers as far as what they need. So by that time, I have gathered enough information for the appointment itself, and I already know a little bit more about what they need, what they want, all of that, and prepares me better for the appointment. So, and then I also call or text the night before the appointment to let them know, hey, we're still on. That's been very important to me over the years, because things change, things happens very quickly, and sometimes you need to reschedule. So I always confirm the day before or the morning of the appointment as well. So what you guys probably really want to know, what happens at the appointment? What actually happens there? And again, this is just for me. Everybody's business is different. So at the appointment, it's almost like I tell myself showtime. This is it. I pull up to the house. I don't rush right in. I wait about a minute, and you guys can hear me, right? Let me make sure you're hearing me. Okay, good. I don't rush right in. I wait a second, and then I gather my thoughts, and I'm like, okay, showtime to turn it on. Um, so when I get there, and I go in immediately with after greeting, um, I ask them, well, show me your house. Or if you feel more comfortable with me just walking around myself, I can do that, give them the option. Um, and a lot of folks, they're excited to show me their home because they're excited to show what they've done, and all of that. And it kind of is just an icebreaker. So it's not just awkward. Let's just go in and go sit at the table and talk numbers and all of that. And then some people may just want to do that. You just have to just gauge who you're dealing with. But most people would like to show you their home because it's a very much a part of them. So once we've kind of done the tour, they showed me all of that. I asked them, do you feel comfortable? Do you want to sit at the table? Would you like to sit outside? Or what's your favorite place in the house to relax, feel comfortable? So maybe it's a table, maybe it's their family room or what have you. And we end up there and then we start talking a little bit of business. But I kind of let my clients do a lot of the talking. I don't talk over them. I kind of let them tell me their story. People like to tell their story and hear themselves talk sometimes as well. So as they're telling me what their needs are, even though I got it on the phone already, I want them to repeat it again. There's a reason for that. But they're telling me their story and telling me what they need, and I'm just letting them go have at it. And once we kind of got to a point where I have all the information that we need to go ahead to move forward, we start asking questions. I start asking questions, bring up scenarios. What would happen if we did this, or how would you feel if we did that? It's just going to just depend on, what they need. So I guess I could use an example of someone who needs to both list and find another home. So I would go into the scenarios of, okay, if we need to buy before we sell this property, what that looks like, and versus, or if we have to actually sell this home before you purchase another property because you may need it for whatever financial reasons, or it's a being comfortable issue. We kind of go through all those scenarios there. I try to find a point of connection. I know this is probably like cliche or redundant. Even if this referral, or it doesn't have to be referral, but even if it's a person who I have never really met before that is kind of called, I do try very hard to find a point of connection. And most of the time I'm very successful at that. People can tell if you're genuine. They can tell if you are, just here, that this is it. I'm here for a job and that's it. So trying to find that point of connection and kind of like a basis point of making sure that this is how we will move forward. One big thing I've noticed over the years of listing homes, lots of sellers, they just need you to be their resource. That's just, again, this is my experience. And when I say be their resource, I'm not just saying net sheets and things like that, and comps. I mean, that's all, part of what we do. But the sellers, some people, this may be the first time they've ever sold a home, or they haven't sold a home in a very long time, and the market looks very different year over year. So when I say bring resources or be their resource, for my clients, I'm usually one, or if not the only main point of contact for certain things. So when I say resources, bring movers, say there's some things in the home that may need to be done before it gets listed. Maybe have a few folks that you can refer to for painting or small jobs and stuff like that. Bring, whatever the need is. Like I've had people ask me as something as when they move from another city, or they move from another neighborhood to another, who's your hairstylist? just be the resource for whatever they need. I promise you they won't go elsewhere because you are the one, you are the connector. You are the one that will have all the information. So that's what I found is huge. Just have, if you can have an abundance of resources, um, it will be really hard. It's really hard for them to um, not not want to work with you at that point because you're the connection to everything. Um, so people have asked me before about competition. Do I ask them, am I in competition? I'm going to be honest, I don't. This says it may come up. If it comes up, it's usually because they brought it up. I don't ask them if I'm in competition. I do assume that you've brought me here for the intention of looking to see if you're going to hire me or not. So I personally don't always ask if I'm in competition. If it comes up, say they have another agent that they're going to interview, and I encourage them, of course, um, to do so if they feel comfortable with that. I don't shun them from it. I don't slam them down. I don't say, I'm an agent for you. Don't call anyone else. I mean, I don't tip. That's just my approach. I don't. Um, I guess because, and I don't want to, this piece of, I don't take this as me sounding, overly confident or cocky, but I do make the assumption that, you brought me here and I'm not going to get into that conversation unless you brought it up. That meaning the seller. Have I ever been in competition? Of course, most agents are, competition. So that's a normal thing. But I tend to, at least when I get the appointments and when I get the listings, because I give an overwhelming amount of resources and give them so much and not information overload, but just pertinent information, and just come across with as genuine as I can. I just haven't here and there it may happen, but I usually don't have to worry about competition by just being yourself. And that's really what the big thing was all about, being yourself and being genuine. Um, be positive because you don't know what the circumstances are until they tell you all the way why they're selling. So just to have a positive attitude, even when they have some negative situations may come up, find a way in your conversation to spin it around into a positive. I do deal with a lot of probates and divorce, and sometimes those aren't always positive conversations to have. It can be emotional, it can be, angry. But I always try to turn around to, well, you have a great home here. It's going to sell. It's in, whatever condition that it's in, or what have you. Find the positive to turn around. It's going to sell, and this will give you better direction in how you move forward to whatever it is, X, Y, and Z. And that's why I'm here to help. So that's that. Um, as far as um, documentation, I try to get it signed right there. Whether it's on my tablet and we do dot loop right there, or I'm old fashioned. I have my listing papers with me, and my goal is to get it leave out of there with the listing sign right then and there. So as far I'm not super pushy with it, but I kind of set the tone is that we're here to get your home, so and discuss how we're going to go about doing that, and my goal is to get have the paperwork signed today. And then as far as so because objections do come up. So I don't know if anyone wants to suggest or have any questions regarding objections or things that they've experienced in listing appointments, and wondering, if me or anyone else on this call has handled it, how they've handled objections or handled things that have came up. We kind of just quite didn't know what to say. I'm going to open it up at this point to you guys. Anybody? Everybody has good listing appointments. No, nothing that's came up kind of out of the ordinary. You're not sure what to say. Okay. All right. Well, um, as far as so when I get there's a goal to get the listing signed, I give them a timeline as to what will happen. I have this in hard copy and electronic copy as far as what to expect next. So people like to know what's going to happen next, and they appreciate your communication. So I give them a timeline from that point as to what will happen next. I go from there, and then we kind of move on. I think I was looking for you guys to kind of interject as far as questions or things that you've experienced or anything that I may have left off or anything like that. But I kind of, that's pretty much what I do, just being natural as natural as possible during the appointment, and coming over as competent and confident as possible without turn anybody off or anything like that, and being totally interested in investing in what they're trying to accomplish as well. Make it about them, not me.
Keisha, I have a question. Not that you need
Mhm,
to like script this out, but
mhm.
how are you handling some of those objections with like seller pricing or different terms while still sort of maintaining the relationship, while still like being that fiduciary, being that resource for them and keeping that trust? Like, how are you handling some of those objections? Not that you need to have a script for it, but what does your conversation look like?
As far as pricing, so when we talk about pricing and say they want one, your question is if they want to list at one price and, maybe my recommendation is a different price. Is that
That's
an example? Okay.
yeah.
So I asked them, um, when the price comes up, suggested pricing, um, I asked them first, what were you thinking that you may want to sell this property for? I don't go into what I brought with me or what I've researched just yet. I kind of want to hear where they're coming from first before I respond. And then sometimes you'll get some people who will say, no, I want to hear what you have to say. And I have to turn it around back on them a little bit and say, hey, this is your home. You lived here. Now that I've experienced a little bit with you, you've been here longer than me. Of course, you lived here. So I want to know how you feel about pricing. Because again, I make it about them. So they usually give me a price or some sort of range. And sometimes we're right in the range, and a lot of times we're not. That most sellers feel that their home is worth more than what the market bears. I'm sure we all kind of may experience that. Most of them do. And, so what I do is when they're a little bit off, or some of them are like way off, the conversation gets a little bit different. So when, say they're off, some, and my range is different. And again, when I speak in ranges. I don't exactly get into a specific price till we get to contract conversations. But I give them ranges. And if their range is off, some I give them like, okay, that range is, a little bit different than what the data suggests. And I can appreciate um, your range, or just validate basically what they're saying, for at some point, to a point. Like, I appreciate your range. I appreciate that you sharing that with me. It's a little bit different than what the data suggests. So let's go deeper into the conversation on why you think, your range is this, and then I'll explain to you what the market says, and then we can have a conversation where we meet in the middle there, as far as where we should position your price. So basically, truly hearing them out, and they usually say something to the effect of, because I put all this money in it, and I put new windows, or I put a new HVA system in, or I added a deck, or whatever improvements they've done, for whatever reason. So at that point, I'm note taking, I'm getting their thoughts. Okay, this is why they think it's worth more. And then sometimes it's emotional. I've been there all these years, and this is where, my family I raised my family, and this, and that. And then I'll go into what the data says, and then I'll say, let's just have a real conversation. So this house is definitely going to be worth that to you, but you were not the buyer for the house. And then I go into, more so, what the buyer is looking for in your range in this market. And usually we can have a pretty realistic conversation of what range we should be in, if that goes well. If that kind of answers your question. I know it's a lot of information, but yeah.
Yeah. I think we've heard this before, depending on who the person is sitting there too, making sure that you're validating. Yes, I know that you've put a lot of, you've lived here for a long time, and I love the new windows, and I think they're going to be a great addition to the new buyers that are coming in. So all the things that you kind of said, having an honest conversation, but validating their feelings. Okay, last question before we hop off here. Somebody said this in a panel last week that buyers pay our bills, but sellers build our business, right? So at some
Mhm.
point you switched, I think you said it was 2016, into
17,
being
18.
more listing focused. For
Mhm.
those people on the Zoom today, like if that's their goal in 2025, if we're writing this on our business plan that we want to be more listing focused, what's the one thing that they could start doing to kind of start to pivot their business into being listing focused? Like, what could they do today?
Um, let's see. Was It's a number of things you can do, but I made a decision, there's two things I did right away. One, I actually went after more investors. And the reason why I did that it was several reasons. One, was because they the way that you handle investors, and maybe they have a renovated home, is going to be a little different than a traditional seller. But I, I was able to break into neighborhoods that I hadn't been doing business in because of that. And then once I kind of got a handle of investors, who were renovating homes in areas where I wanted to do business, I started marketing that neighborhood heavily. I started inviting the neighbors to the open houses. I started just really kind of honing in on the beat of that neighborhood as far as who lives there, and what the home style is like, and what, and then what goes on in the neighborhood. Um, I also farm. I still farm to this day. Farming takes years, so this is a commitment that you have to commit to. Is then something's going to be instantaneous. It's going to take years, but I do farm neighborhoods, and I've gotten listings from the neighborhoods that I farm. Um, and three, quite simple. Even though, say you may working with buyers now, that you're very buyer focused, they're eventually going to turn on listings later. But just simply ask for the business, like, hey, um, who do you know, of course, who wants to buy, sell, invest in real estate? But um, I would started asking, like, hey, do you know anyone who needs to sell their home? Just straight out ask for the business. Um, and the last thing I'll share is mindset. I had to switch my mindset around listings. I was scared of them for a long time, um, but I had to switch my mindset around them, meaning that um, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I'm confident that I can, be a good listing agent, and just shifting my mind to where this is where where I want my business to go. So I have control of how that happens and what steps I take to do it. So really, it was just shifting a big mindset around just making that my focus. And then once you start doing that, and it grows, you don't want to lose your buyer business, of course. You may have to bring someone along to help you and that sort of thing, like I've done with that aspect. But once you start shifting your mindset around it, like, this is how I stay in business, this is how I have more time for other things that I want to do because I'm listing. Um, that kind of was a game changer for me.
Yeah, I love that. Especially with you breaking into neighborhoods, asking that one seller, maybe not who they know who are looking to buy, sell, right? Bold or invest, but just asking the question, who do you know that's looking to sell? They know their neighbors. They know who's looking to sell in that area. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. All right, Keisha, anything else? Any final words?
No, list to last, as they say, all the cliche stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
love it.
it's
We appreciate you.
important.
Thank you so much for
Hmm.
coming on. And the recording will be available later along with some notes that I took along the way. So thanks again, Keisha. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey
Have a
guys.
good day. Bye bye.